Hello, 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 and welcome to episode 5. We are so excited. You are with Contemporary Living with Farmer and Hill, and I am your host, Melissa Farmer, and our co-host, the man to my left, your right, Mr. Andre Hill.
Thank you, Melissa. We're looking forward to another great show today with Contemporary Living with Farmer and Hill. And we're going to jump right into it. We're going to jump into a farmer's question of the day.
But before we do that, let's do a recap on the question of the day number 4. So last month we talked, the question of the day was, is traditional education still relevant in today's society? And so what we're going to give you are some of the responses that we received back. And thank you for your feedback. So who are you going to start off with?
Oh, I appreciate it. We have a Sarah Hentley. She commented, and her response was, no, there need to be a broader ranges of teaching techniques. Not everyone learns the same. There are autistic kids who have different needs from one another as well as everyone else. We appreciate it, Sarah, for your comment. And we're going to move on to, we had a Justin. How you pronounce this? One of your friends here.
Yeah, Justin. Hey, Justin. Justin Devantier is his last name.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's French for Devantier.
Oh, so it's a French name. So we appreciate Justin for chiming in. Justin wrote, teachers used to train to teach children. Okay? Now they train to teach children to pass state tests.
Wow.
The pressure teachers have to perform to testing results is enormous. It also reflects to the kids. If a child is not up to par with testing, then what happens now? The teachers has to tag them as special needs to move them out of their profile. He also said it used to be a point to be more creative to teach a child who might fall behind. My 2 cents.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for your 2 cents, Justin. So we also had Kevin Farmer from Chicago, Illinois, who responded. And he said, kinesthetic learners, a learning style where students learn by performing physical tasks as opposed to listening to lectures or watching demonstrations. Many boys are kinesthetic learners. Current teaching methods don't adapt to their audience. Traditional education rewards listening quietly and regurgitating information. I have taught struggling athletes how to write a report by making them write an essay explaining the playbook and then going out and run the offense. They got the information. A whole lot of black boys are kinesthetic learners. So thank you so much for that response, Kevin. And then we had one final response from Tremel Haywood of Chicago, Illinois, who gave us the profound statement of, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Yeah. So thank you so much to everyone who responded. And now let's get into the question of the day number 5. All right, so question of the day number 5 is, what has life taught you about people? I think that's a pretty good question. And for me, just thinking about it, what life has taught me about people is we all have a lot in common. We all want love. We all fear things. Yes. We all want meaning and purpose to our lives. So to me, it tells me that everyone is the same. Now, everyone's the same, but on different levels do they perform that show that they want love, that they fear things, and that they want their life to have meaning and purpose, because it tells me that I need to guard my heart. And I have to guard my heart, and when it comes to heart matters like just thinking, your feelings, your words, your actions and reactions, because everyone that comes into your life don't always necessarily mean good to you. So that's why you have to guard your heart and know yourself. And by knowing yourself, it helps you to know others. So what has life taught you about people?
I think you hit it on the head. I think a lot of people, it has taught me that people want to be loved, cared for. And I like how Martin Luther King, he taught about the drum major instinct, the need to want to be out, the need to want to be in front. But what's your motive behind wanting to be in front or to lead? So it teaches me that, people want to be loved, people want to be out front, people want to be seen. And that's what pretty much, that's what it has taught me. Mm-hmm.
So good. All right. So we want to hear from you. What has life taught you about people? So you can go ahead and respond in the box below, or you can go ahead and email us at farmerandhill@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you.
All right, we appreciate it. Upcoming, we have Melissa. She's going to talk about well-being, fitness, and health. All right, let's get into it.
All right, I'm so excited to talk about this because I have not talked about this to date, and that is exercise. And the exercising that I want to talk about today are the health benefits of running. Now, you can gain these same health benefits through walking, but today I'm going to specifically talk about running. So what are the health benefits of running? Well, first of all, it strengthens your lungs. It builds muscle and tones you up. It burns a lot of calories. It reduces blood pressure. It promotes a longer span of life, of an active life. It releases those feel good endorphins that improve your mood. And then the wonderful thing about running, or walking in this case, is that it's good at any age. So these are some of the health benefits of running. But why don't we run? Why don't we get out and do, for those that don't, why don't we get out and do that run like we want to every day? And the reason why is because of our excuses. And I heard it said, if it's important to you, you will do it. But if it's not, you'll make an excuse. And so some of our excuses are, I don't like sweating my hair out. You know, ladies, we like when we get that hair done, we really don't like sweating it out, but we have to find ways to work around that. Some people say that running is boring, or it's too hard, or it hurts. I don't like getting up in the morning and then they're too tired after a long day of work. But you have to make this a part of your daily life. Exercise should be a part of your daily life. And one of the ways to start off is by running or walking. For one, it doesn't require a membership. It's free. You can do it anywhere. So that's one of the great things about running and walking. And then we've already discussed the health benefits. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, what I want to talk to you about are your shoes, because your shoes are your most important gear. And if you see the slide, it's numbered from 1 through 6, and we're going to go over how to pick out a really good shoe for you. So we're going to start with the heel. Now, the heel should stay in place, but it shouldn't be so tight. So when you're looking at the heel of your shoe, as you put your shoe on, the heel should fit and stay in place, but it shouldn't be tight. That's one of the things you want to look out for. So number 1 shows you where the heel is. Number 2 is the instep. Now the instep should feel snug and secure, but there should not be any pressure. So you know when you tie your shoes up, sometimes when you walk in them, they may be too tight. You have to be careful of that. So make sure that your instep, it feels snug and secure, but make sure your shoes aren't tied too tight. And if it's too tight before you even put your shoes on, you know that's the wrong fit for you. So that's number 2 on the slide. It's your instep. Number 3 is your width. Now, when you look at the width, you should be able to move your feet without pressing along the sides of the shoe. If you put your shoe on and your feet is pressing along the side of the shoe, then you may need to get a wider shoe. That shoe may be too narrow for you. So number 3 is width on the chart there. Number 4 is length. So as you run, your feet are going to swell. So what you want to make sure is that when you initially put that shoe on, that your toes, whatever your longest toe is, make sure it's not pressing up against the top of the shoe, because your feet are going to get larger as you run. They're going to swell. So number 4 is the length of the shoe there on the slide. Then 5, flexibility. So what you want to do is press your toes down on the floor, and where your arch is, that should be where how the shoe moves. So if it goes against that, then that's not a good fit, so that you want to reconsider maybe buying another shoe or another brand. And then last 6 is the feel of the shoe. So when you put your shoe on, the contours and movement should go along with the arch of your feet. So that's something that you need to watch out for. So those are 6 things that you can use when you're going to select a shoe. Now, next thing I want to talk about is the right running gear. So there are 5 things. Your clothes should feel comfortable and don't overdress, because when you go outside, your body's going to heat up because you're moving. And women, you need a good sports bra. You need a really good sports bra to provide you that support. And if you don't have a good sports bra, you might want to double up on your sports bra if it's not supportive enough. And then your socks should be 100% cotton, because you're going to sweat in them. And then when you first start running or walking, don't go out and buy a lot of expensive gear. That's not necessary. So cotton is fine, but as you begin to do this on a routine basis, you want to look into the dry fit or the wick or the cool max types of materials, because that's going to separate you from that sweat. So that is some of the running gear that you want to look out for. And then finally, what I want you to do is just go run. But I want you to run anywhere that's safe and enjoyable. And make sure you don't eat solid foods at least an hour before you run. You want to begin with a warm up before the run and then stretch after, because you want to stretch while your body's warm. And then give yourself 20 to 30 minutes 3 times a week. You can start out on a treadmill. That's a wonderful place to start, especially if you've had previous injuries or your knees can't take the pounding of the concrete outside. And then you can use a combination of walking and running. That's always good. And then know your body. Know the difference between discomfort and pain. Discomfort means you can tolerate it, but pain is really like something piercing, something sharp. So you want to know the difference, learn your body and know the difference between discomfort and pain. And then you want to try to breathe naturally and relax the jaw while you're running. But most of all, you want to have fun. So go out there, get those running shoes on, get that running gear on, and do some running or some walking. It's going to do your body a lot of good.
All right, that was excellent.
Thank you.
I have to admit, the first 5 minutes is tough for me.
Yeah.
But normally after that 5, once I get to that 6-minute mark and with some music,
right,
I'm ready to go.
You get used to it.
All right, moving on to leasing. And we're going to call one of my favorite topics, Leasing 101, Know Your Rights. Mm-hmm. So today we're going to talk about 3 fair housing practices buyers and sellers should be aware of. We're going to talk about blockbusting, steering, and redlining very quickly here. Now, what is blockbusting? Blockbusting is also called panic selling. It is the act of encouraging people to sell or rent their homes by claiming entry of a protected class of people into the neighborhood will have some sort of negative impact on property value. So an example of that, say Melissa, she lives in a certain area, and I come to Melissa and say Melissa's house is worth $150,000, and I tell Melissa, you got the whites moving in and you got the Asians moving in, and that's going to bring your property value down, and it's going to take it down to about $75,000. Now Melissa may not know anything, so she said, you know what, Andre, I'm gonna go ahead and sell my house to you. So she sell me her house $75,000. I go in return, sell it for $150,000 to get a profit. So I have deceived her out of living in that particular neighborhood because of a certain ethnic group that has moved in. So that's what you call blockbusting, mm-hmm. And that was pretty big back in the 60s, especially during the civil rights movement. Also, the next one we want to talk about is steering. Steering is the channeling of home seekers to a particular neighborhood. It also includes discouraging potential buyers or renters from considering certain areas. Examples of steering. Say, for instance, I own a building. And when people come in, they say, Andre, I want to rent your property. I put the whites on one floor. I put the blacks on the second floor. I put the Asians on the third floor. And I try to keep everybody, secluded to a certain level of that apartment building. Well, that's what you call steering. Also, another example of steering, say somebody came in and say, I want to rent, this house here. I want to rent this particular room. And I tell them, no, it's not vacant. Somebody has already rented out. Just because of their, ethnic background. Say they was a white individual and I told them that. And then a black person comes and they ask for that same room, and I say, of course it's available. That is available. That place been ready for a while. Now that's what you call steering, okay? So that's against the law also. So understanding that as leasing agents, we always recommend tenants research areas and schools on their own. We never give people informational or recommendations of any areas. And so a lot of times me and Melissa, we do leasing. And a lot of times people ask us about a particular area, and Andre, what you think about this? And what about this neighborhood? Well, as leasing agents, by law, we can't tell people where they should move or where they should go. But what we do tell them is to go online and do the research for yourself, and you make the decision on whether you want to move you and your family into that particular area. So that's what you call steering. Okay? Next, we want to talk about redlining. Last but not least, redlining is the practice of refusing to make mortgage loans or issue insurance policies in specific areas for reasons other than the applicant's financial qualifications. All right? The Home Mortgage Disclosure Act requires that all institutional mortgage lenders with assets in excess of $36 million in one or more offices in a given geographic area make annual reports. Reports must detail all mortgage loans what mortgage loans the institution has made or purchased, broken down by census tract. The law enables the government to detect patterns of lending behavior that might constitute redlining. So what this is saying is somebody comes in and they may qualify for a mortgage loan. And because of their race, they may, get denied because they don't want that particular group of people living in a certain area. So financially, they can afford it, but because of their background, they may say no. So this tracks down on predatory lending. This also lets the government know if people are being, pointed out because of their ethnic, their background. So that's what you call redlining. All right, so that's it for Leasing 101, Know Your Rights.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I wanted to say, that was so important with the civil rights movement, because it identified things like that, blockbusting, steering, and redlining. And some of you may have never heard about these things, but these things do happen.
Yes.
And that's why I'm glad we have this segment, Know Your Rights, because it keeps you as the renter informed and you as the owner informed as well. So I'm glad this segment was really good. I appreciate it.
Yes, and just talk about a little bit about the steering. And what was happening with the steering was, people was trying to put the blacks in one area, the whites in one area, the Asians in one area. And so, people have to be careful of that also.
Right.
All right, so we're going to move on. Upcoming, we're going to talk about personal finances.
All right. So today, we're going to talk about the ABCs of APR. And APR just stands for the annual percentage rate. And basically, that's the amount you pay for borrowing money. Now, do we want to borrow money? No. Do I want you to borrow money? No. But I know that there's some people out there that are doing this. So I just want to keep you informed. So basically, APR answers the big question, how much is this really going to cost me? So really, APRs are good when you have when you're comparing multiple loans. All right. So some of the common areas or the common loans that we're familiar with are the student loans, which are backed by the government. You have home and you have auto loans. Now, home and auto loans, they're backed by collateral. So say, for instance, that's why the bank can repossess your car. That's why they can take your home from you. And then you have credit cards, which are really, they are not backed by anything except the full faith that you will repay this loan that they're giving you. But one of the things we really, really, really want to steer you away from are the payday loans. And one of the reasons why is because payday loans can charge you up to 100% on every dollar borrowed. It's not a good deal. I do not encourage anyone to use a payday loan because it's just not worth it in the end. You lose out on so much money. And so the next point that I want to talk about are interest rate versus APR. You know how sometimes you see 0% interest rate or, 3.99 interest rate. That's all well and good. But in order to know what you're actually paying, you have to know the annual percentage rate, because there's a thing called truth in lending, and that's disclosed. They have to give you what that APR is. So the difference between the interest rate and the APR is the interest rate will just tell you what the interest is. The annual percentage rate has fees tied to it. It could have, if you have a mortgage, insurance tied to it. So it's all those additional costs associated with that interest rate and what you're borrowing. And then we want to talk about the difference between a fixed rate and a variable rate. So a fixed rate remains the same throughout, as opposed to a variable rate, which tends to start off low and go high. So you really want to be cautious when you have a loan with a variable rate, because it's based on a lot of things. It's based on LIBOR, it's based on it's based on a lot of things, and that's why it's tied to the market. It's tied to a lot of things. So you may be paying $100 at one point in time, and then the next month you're paying like $125 or $150. So it could keep going up and up and up. So those are the 4 points I want to point out for the APR, but I just want to show you some simple math, understanding the math of how an APR is calculated. So let's say Karen gets a personal loan for $5,000 at an APR of 6%. So we're going to take the $5,000 divided by 100, which equals 50. We're going to take the 50 and then multiply it by that 6%, and then that equals 300. We'll take that 300 with that $5,000 for 12 months. So she'll be paying $5,300 on a $5,000 loan. Now let's say John gets an approved credit card for $10,000 with an interest rate of 8%. And then there's also a prime rate fee. That's basically when you're loaning money commercially, that's a fee that they can charge you, the minimal they can charge you. So there's a prime rate fee of 3.5. So what we'll do is take that $10,000, we'll divide it by 100. We'll take that $100 and multiply it by 11.5, because the interest is 8% and the prime rate is 3.5. So that goes together. So that's where you have to be cautious. That's where the APR shows you exactly what you're paying. So you wind up paying $1,150 on a 12-month loan for $10,000. So the $1,150 plus $10,000 for 12 months is $11,150. And so that's what you get. So look at the chart. It's a little way of simplifying the math just so you'll understand the annual percentage rate.
Excellent.
Okay, the next point I want to talk about. What on earth are you doing with your money? So how about that frou-frou coffee that we love to drink? All right, so I have some statistics on that. And did you know that there's an upscale coffee shop on every corner? All right, and 50% of Americans over 18 are coffee drinkers. And coffee sales account for nearly 8% of the $32 billion coffee market in the U.S. That's estimated. And then, as a reformed coffee drinker myself, I couldn't stay away. You couldn't keep me out of Starbucks. I drank Starbucks, my personal preference, 5 days a week. And I was spending about $32. So $32 a week. So that's a lot of money annually. It's like over $1,600 annually. So that's maybe one point where you can save maybe coffee 3 times a week, or your frou-frou coffee maybe 2 times a week, as opposed to 5 or 7 days a week. So when we talk about what on earth are you doing with your money, think about that frou-frou coffee and think of ways that you can save.
Well, I sound like we need to open up our own coffee shop. Now,
Yeah, they make
I
a
have
lot
a
of
cup
money.
here, but it don't have coffee in it. So.
No, it's not coffee.
I'm not a big coffee drinker. So upcoming here, we're going to go right into spirituality. And we're going to talk about today, what is love? For love is a strong feeling or connection, an intense feeling of deep affection, a deep romantic or sexual attachment. And there's 7 types of loves. We got eros, which is a sexual or passionate love. You have philia, which is friendship love. Number 3, you have storge love, which is parents and their children, for the love that parents have for their children or family members. Number 4, you have agape type love. You hear this a lot in church. That's the God kind of love. That's the type of love that loves everyone, even strangers. Then you have the ludus love, which is playful and an uncommitted love. Also, you have pragma love with a long-term interest, someone pursuing their goals and career. You ever see somebody that just love their work and they love what they do? Well, that's considered pragma type love. And you have the philatia love, which is self-love. And I went online and I was able to get this from psychologytoday.com. So that's what we're going to talk about love. And 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 3 through 8 reads, "And that though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not charity, it profit me nothing." Verse 4 said, "Charity suffereth long, it is kind. Charity envieth not, charity vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up." Verse 5 reads, "Doth not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not usually provoked, thinketh no evil." Verse 6 reads, "Rejoice not in iniquity, but rejoice in the truth." Number 7, "For love beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things." And verse number 8 reads, "Charity never fails, but whatever there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away." So the Apostle Paul, he talks about love here. And as we go into 1 John chapter 4, verse 20, it says, "If a man say, I love God, and hate his brother, he is a liar. For he that love not his brother whom he have seen, how can he love God whom he have not seen?" And today, in today's world, we forget about love. And what about the love? We don't have love for our fellow mankind. And that's why we see so much tragedies in the world today. That's why we see so much violence, but we are quick to say that we love God. So that's why John said, if a man say, I love God, and hate his brother, he is a liar. As you go into John 15:13, it reads, "Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends." So understanding this here, we was talking about this the other day. That's a great love, to lay down your life for somebody else. You think about the firemen and the police officers that went into the World Trade Center back, during 9/11. You think about the police officers that go out each and every day and put their lives on the line for us. See, these are people that have love for individuals. Also, John 3:6 sums it all up. "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believed on him should not perish, but have everlasting life." So understanding that's what love is. And remember love, and love is very essential. Today's world, that's why we see like I said before, so much violence and so much hostility. You got brother against brother and sister against sister and mother against daughter, because we have forsaken the very ingredient that keeps each and every one of us going today. So as we lead today, just remember love. Melissa, you got anything to say about love today? No.
I love and all 7 versions.
She loves all 7 versions of love.
But no, I think that the agape love is like the best love.
Yes. Yeah, it seems like because it's an unconditional love. It covers everybody, anyone, any time of the day, and that's what that God kind of love is great.
And that it's good to have that God kind of love, because you rely on other humans to show you the love that God showed you. They'll cut off your flow.
Yeah. So as soon as you mess up, right? I love you, but
it's gone. But that God kind of love is always there, everlasting. So that's the best love.
And most importantly, it's a forgiving love.
Yes.
And that's unfortunately that's the society we live in today. As soon as you make a mistake, don't nobody want to forgive you.
Absolutely.
It's funny, we want to be forgiven, but we don't want to forgive nobody. And unfortunately, that's the time we live in today.
Yeah.
So, God's love is unconditional. It loves us in our faults and failures.
Absolutely.
When we fall down, he still loves us. And we got to have the same type of love for our fellow man and our brothers and sisters that's out there. Yeah, we may get into it. We may have disagreements and things like that. That's normal. But when it's all said and done, we are required to love our fellow man and to be a blessing to those that are in needs. And that's what God, one of the strongest things that's out there is love. And before I close, just remember, that love is very important. And we just thank everybody for tuning in. Melissa, I love you.
I love you too.
Thank you for tuning in to Contemporary Living with Farmer and Hill.
Yes.
I'm your host, Andre Hill, and this is my beautiful co-host, Melissa Farmer. And until next time, we'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Teenage on the track.